So we're back. And now it's the time to take a look into the present and the future of the Bat family. Batman Beyond Rebirth #1 and Teen Titans Rebirth #1. I enjoyed these issues. One, as we talk about the same team but the new team, and if you're familiar with Batman Beyond, the animated series, you can feel the presence of some of the storylines in there, but it's going into a new direction, which I think is pretty cool. Batman Beyond Rebirth #1, Escaping the Grave Part 1. And Josh, we get to see a retelling of the origin of Terry McGinnis as Batman, which if you're familiar with the Batman Beyond animated series, it is pretty much the same, but just a little bit darker now.
Yeah. I mean, this is as Terry is sort of getting himself reacquainted with the role of Batman.
Yes.
Considering he's just, taken over the mantle from alternate future Tim Drake.
I think it was current future Tim Drake, but yeah, the same future Tim Drake, I think.
Oh yeah, future Tim Drake. Not future Tim Drake. That would be like a Tim Drake who's not Tim Drake yet. Like a Robin who's not a Robin at that point. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's Terry McGinnis trying to get reacquainted with his role as Batman, and he's also, sort of retelling the events of what's essentially the pilot for the animated series.
Right.
And I mean, this reality so far is a lot darker. Like when he stops the Jokers, they die in the end. I mean, they have almost like I want to say a self-destruct, but sort of like a, instant kill thing. Which sort of like a take no prisoners.
We've seen this before in previous Batman, in the current continuity of Batman. Anytime with the Jokers, anytime a henchman of a Joker or someone that he kidnapped, he didn't want them to talk, they would start to choke on their own vomit. Laughing hysterically, and they would die. And Commissioner Barbara Gordon has said that she's seen this before, and all signs point to someone, which we're going to talking about in a moment or so. So I thought that right away was these Jokers. Usually they said that these Jokers were just out to create havoc, but now they're kind of focused on money. They're trying to rob. They're trying to get a bunch of money, stockpile money. For what? We're going to find out. So they're a lot darker than what McGinnis was used to fighting.
And it's probably a good strategy. I mean, the animated series is, I don't know how many years old now. I mean, whoever watched that is going to be older.
Yep.
I mean, just like you and I.
Yes.
I mean, we watched it. We're adults. We can handle more mature plot lines, and those are also plot lines they might not be able to do on TV.
Right.
I mean, you might not be able to have a Joker henchman, start convulsing and laughing uncontrollably and die on television. That might be a little scarring for kids.
Terry McGinnis is still trying to reacquaint himself back to the life. It looks like he and his brother move into an apartment. He's trying to pick up the pieces of being under the influence of Spellbinder and just trying to start anew. But there's a couple relationships with Dana that he hasn't told her that he's alive. And Barbara Gordon said, you need to tell her that, because if you don't, you're going to drive a further wedge. Don't be like Bruce and kind of forsake your personal relationships. But he's just still kind of finding himself after all that.
Yeah, well, and he's really worried that if he just shows up to Dana and says, hey, guess what? I never died in the first place.
Right.
I was here all along, just, under another guy's mental control. It might not go over that well.
Right.
And, I mean, we also see that Dana's essentially a social worker now, and she's sort of trying to take down what do they call it, Joker Town?
Yes.
Joker's Town?
Yes.
Or where, the Jokers have pretty much free reign over the town, and she ends up getting kidnapped in the end. And it's interesting, too, that as Terry's kind of getting reacquainted, that's getting the readers reacquainted, too.
Yep.
That's if you're familiar with the animated series, but you didn't necessarily follow the comic series, you're getting reacquainted to the universe, too. I mean, it's not that different, but there's still still differences that happened in the comics.
The biggest reveal in this comic is the fact that the Jokers are taking orders from someone. The first, Dana has said that you used to be Terminal, and why are you doing this? And he reveals, we're taking orders from someone. Well, who? At the last panel, you see what looks like a Frankenstein contraption keeping the Joker alive. Okay, Joker's supposed to be dead, but here he is hooked up to machines, and somehow he's communicating, and they're trying to, so all the money that they're collecting, all the money that they're stealing, they're using it to fund the research on bringing Joker back to life. Is it the Joker? Is it a Joker? We don't know, but
Yeah.
this is why they've gone to such extremes, is because they're being pushed to the extreme.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bruce Wayne lived that far into the future to meet
Right.
Terry McGinnis. It's conceivable the Joker would. How he would live that long with his sort of self-destructive lifestyle, I don't know. I mean, it also kind of makes me wonder, does the Batman Beyond series need the original Joker? I mean, they introduced so many other villains.
Right, exactly.
In his I mean, like Blight, Ink, Spellbinder. It's so many kind of cool characters that they could do something with. And I mean, he just came off Spellbinder.
Yes.
Just got over that. This will be interesting to see how the Joker fits into that, assuming he does, come back to life.
And one thing to remember, too, is we found out at the beginning of DC Universe Rebirth is there are 3 Jokers right now, somehow in the DC Universe. Three different people have been the Joker in Batman's career, if you want to call it. Is this one? If this is one Joker, is this the definitive Joker, or is it just someone being Joker? We don't know this yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get the answers farther along as Batman Beyond Rebirth goes. But right now it's very interesting. And how does this all play with current timeline and future timeline? Where does this going to fit? How is this Joker still in any condition after 50 plus years?
Yeah, and it's an interesting sort of allusion to the old movie Return of the Joker, which was on the Batman Beyond films. And in that, it was, sort of rumored that the Joker would come back.
Yep.
And then he didn't. And then in this, it's like, boom, he's here. He's just he's not active yet.
Yep.
So it's sort of, it's kind of mind-blowing.
And if he does come back, will he be after McGinnis, because that's not his Batman?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what'll he do if Bruce isn't there?
Right.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Or would he even approve of what the Jokers are doing?
Right.
That would be interesting too.
Not very true.
Because we know the Joker is not particularly kind to his henchmen and
No.
anyone who even associates with him.
And how's he going to feel about this generation idolizing him and not being able to accomplish what he accomplished? Those are questions that we will find out in the months ahead of Batman Beyond. Teen Titans Rebirth #1. Teen Titans Rebirth. Damian Wayne is trying to, what they say, bring the band back together.
yeah, rather forcibly more than asking. Yeah, he's basically going out and kidnapping all the Teen Titans.
Let's start off with Beast Boy. Beast Boy is taking his sorrows and trying to drown them out by partying excessively. And he is just looking for emotion anywhere he can get. So it was very easy for Damian to take him out. But it kind of shows you how, again, Tim Drake was the center of the Teen Titans. And without him, everyone is going their own separate ways. And Beast Boy is a character always portrayed as, he's great as a group, but as his own, he just can't really handle hero
like
as
Beast,
his own.
Beast Boy even mentions on his own, he mentions that Tim called him like a, what was it, addicted to happiness?
Yes,
or
exactly.
Something like a happy addict or something?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like borderline nihilism at this point on Beast Boy's part, which is weird, thinking of the ever happy, Mr. Positive Beast Boy.
I don't think he's even happy. He's just trying to pretend that he looks appearances of being happy.
Yeah.
Starfire is just trying to bury herself in her work. Damian takes her out too because she's just so tunnel focused that she isn't looking around at her surroundings.
Yeah, and that's I liked the little Starfire part too, because
Yes.
that's a good allusion to how she was in the 80s too.
Yep.
Because 80s Starfire also took a stance against apartheid.
Mm-hmm.
They did that sort of thing, and they really portrayed her as she is a former slave.
Yes.
I mean, her entire species is basically enslaved, and so she's fighting against that, and it's cool to see her going against human trafficking.
Yes.
And those sorts of things.
And then we get Raven. Now, right now, there's a limited series Raven going on, so this was going to take place probably after that limited series. She still wants to be alone, so we're not sure how this limited series really is going to affect Raven, but nothing really changes in terms of she just wants quiet time, she wants to be alone, she's looking at art, but a picture somehow, and I think it's manipulated by Damian, shows Trigon and her and freaks her out.
Yep. Well, and all the statues around her are, Trigon themed too. So how, I mean, Damian seemed to take out Beast Boy and Starfire with just like basically taser type stuff.
Yep.
So however he pulled that off would be, that's pretty impressive.
And then the new kid on the block, literally, the new Kid Flash, DC Wally West.
New 52.
Yeah,
Wally
New 52
West,
Wally West.
as opposed to pre-Flashpoint Wally West, who's also running around in the DC universe.
Yeah, this Wally West is not really comfortable with his powers yet. He's kind of, like you said, he's just doesn't sure where he is, and people aren't really sure what he is yet.
Yeah, he's still trying to master his powers, and he also mentions that, I mean, he does like basically stop a store robbery.
Right.
And when he finally makes it back after his powers kind of go haywire, the guy says, "That's him in the hoodie.
Yep.
That's the guy who took the money." And of course he gives the money back and runs off. And he says he can't outrun the assumption that he's up to no good.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see how he fits on the team. Just a little aside in his little thing. It's interesting that the road repairers in Central City really hate the speedsters because they mess up the pavement so much, and that's just kind of a funny casualty of having so many super speeds, because I mean the Flash series right now has so many speedsters running around.
I wonder how much money the road commission has to, if they get funded an exorbitant amount, they go every year, well, we anticipate the speedsters tearing up these many roads, so we have so much budget. It would be kind of funny how they would bring that in.
Seems like they'd have to build just, certain pedestrian tunnels just for the Flash to run around. Like a little hamster. Like a little hamster tunnel going around the city,
When you read the issue, you're not sure who is taking out the Titans, but we know it's Damian, because for one, he's on the cover. We had talked about Teen Titans Rebirth here a couple months ago with a preview of it, and you knew that Damian Wayne was going to bring this group back together in some way. But the question is, why is he bringing them back, and are they ready to come back as a team? Those are questions. And is anyone going to follow Damian? Not at this time. So why are the elements are together? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen when they all wake up, they're in power inhibitors, and Damian's like, well, you want to see why I brought you together, and that's how the issue ends. But I don't think Damian's in for a rude surprise when they but when they say, we don't want to be around you.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm assuming is Damian probably thinks he's entitled to have his own Teen Titans.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, he's Damian. The word entitled follows him in
I think
almost every sentence.
Damian entitled Wayne.
Yeah, Damian E. Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they react to, sort of the polar opposite of Tim Drake.
Yes.
The one who brings them all together is...
Forces them together.
Yeah, now they have a guy who's literally binding them together.
Yep.
And so that'll be interesting to see.
Do you think the series will work? And the reason I'm saying that, I think it will. I think it's going to be a big growing pain. We do get familiar characters, and then we get new versions of our familiar characters, and the new Kid Flash and Damian Wayne. And when I'm talking about leading the Titans, But Teen Titans just kind of holds that appeal to me. For one, the old TV show or the old cartoon show on Cartoon Network, I enjoyed that Titans group. And we'll see if they can recapture that magic with this familiar characters and new characters.
Yeah, and it'll be an opportunity for some new interactions too. I
Yes.
mean, I really want to see Beast Boy and Damian start to go head to head, because that's going to be an interesting interaction there with, the kind of the carefree guy and the guy who thinks he should be leading the Titans.
Yes.
No questions asked. That's going to be interesting, and it'll be interesting to see where Wally fills in. Because the other three mention when they're tied up, they say, "Who are you?
Right.
Why are you here?"
Right.
And he's kind of probably saying the same thing. Like, I don't know any of these people. Or maybe I've seen him on TV. That's it. So that'll be interesting.
It will be. I'm looking forward to Teen Titans just to see how Damian meshes and the reason he's bringing these back together, in addition to being entitled. Well, that wraps up this episode of Comic Book Cove. Any thoughts on, for one, my complete zoning out in this episode, and I apologize for that. But what are your thoughts of the younger generation is in the spotlight, and it shows you that not only does DC have their main heroes, the big three, and by branch the Justice League, but they also have a second tier of heroes that are just as compelling, and then they have the younger generation that can have compelling stories as well.
Yeah, it's that the agelessness of these characters never diminishes how important they can be in these story arcs. I mean, with the DC Universe Rebirth, the overall story that's been playing out, any of them could play pretty major roles.
Right.
At this point, I mean, we know pre-Flashpoint Wally West already has that. I mean, is he ever going to meet New 52 Wally West? That would be interesting.
I believe they do here.
Yeah.
We'll find out. We're a few issues behind. We plan on catching up. But right now, there's a lot to look forward to in the DC line of comics and DC Universe Rebirth. Definitely been fun. Every week, Josh gets more comic books to read.
Yep.
So if you have any feedback or any titles you want us to discuss, I will say I did get some viewer feedback from someone, and they had asked if she had asked if about Comic-Cons, about Wonder Woman, and so we are going to in the future start having certain segments with those with the feedback. So just keep those comments coming in, and anything you want to discuss, just drop us a line to Facebook, YouTube at our Delve Into the Void site. So for this Wednesday episode of Comic Book Cove, I'm Tom Morris.
And I'm Josh Holderbaum.
And we will see you on Friday's edition of Comic Book Cove, and I promise my energy level will be a lot higher. Until next time.